I'm gonna call the meeting to order, whatever time it is.
7:15.
7:17.
7:17, yeah, we got a quorum, we got 4.
Anybody
So,
coming?
no, Laura went up to Most Peculiar,
Okay.
and Carrie has ice hockey.
Okay.
Sounds like fun. Not ice hockey, ice skating or something.
Nice.
I don't know, it's cold enough to make ice. So there was an agenda going around, and Rick and I worked on it, and then it got
welcome.
lost. It's somewhere in the email, I think, because it's so cold, it got,
Frozen.
frozen in the emails, thank you.
Yeah.
So, first thing is call to order, additions or deletions to the agenda, which we don't have, so we're gonna skip over that. The minutes didn't go out because our minute taker posted them to Wyndham Central, but there was nobody at Wyndham Central, so they weren't able to go out, so we'll have to put the minutes off till next meeting, if that's okay with everybody.
Sure.
Don't forget, we gotta wave hi to Rick in the back, Rich in the back there, but he's not allowed to talk, and he really can't talk today. Do we want to do introductions?
Barry Pearson, Wardsboro.
Rich Warner from Dover.
Dwight Borum, Wardsboro?
Rick Thorpe, Wardsboro.
Anita Raphael, Wardsboro.
Peter Barris, minutes.
Oh, you guys get to
Oh, us
introduce,
too?
yeah, because you're on TV.
Tennille Cutler, Wardsboro.
Christine Cruz, Dover.
Tammy Bates from Wardsboro.
David Meeker, Wardsboro.
Kate Rideout, Wardsboro.
Mark Schauber, Dover.
And then that's the videotape guy that you can't see, but he's there. That's why you're moving now.
Well, this is our best attended meeting so far.
Yeah,
I think
thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Is it just so cold you don't want to?
Looking to get out of the house.
So the big thing we need to work on today was the annual meeting, because that's coming up, and we have to get the warning out now because it's got to be warned 30 days. So that's what you guys all got a copy of. So because it's the first meeting, that we had an organizational meeting, and we held that in Wardsboro at the town hall, and that was in October,
I guess. Yeah.
September, I don't, September.
Yeah.
The administrators of the two buildings did a great job, because you guys did a presentation on the gill feather turnip, and Dover did a presentation on the town seal that they worked on with Andy McLean. And it was kind of neat because the governor called the meeting to order and organized the district, which is the first one to have been done that way. So I think I think the administrators deserve a big pat on the back for that.
Well, the kids did a really great job.
That was great.
So the kids are really.
The next one won't probably be as exciting because it'll be at night. So what we had decided kind of in the articles of agreement was that we would meet, we'd alternate years. 1 year we'd meet in Wardsboro, next year we'd meet in Dover. So it kind of works out that even years will be in Dover and odd years are in Wardsboro. So the next meeting will be February 13th, 2018 at 7 p.m. at the Dover Town Hall on Dover Common. And so the article, the legal voters of the River Valley's Unified School District, the district comprising the voters of the towns of Dover and Wardsboro, are notified and warned to meet at the Dover Town Hall in Dover, Vermont. Doer.
You're
You're a doer. To conduct the following business.
7 p.m. Okay.
Yeah. 7 p.m. up top.
Yep.
1, to elect a moderator to serve for the fiscal year July 1st, 2018 to June 30th, 2019. Currently, Dr. Backus is the moderator, and I'll give him a holler and just make sure that he's interested in serving again. But that will be from the floor. That'll be a nomination in a second from the floor. To elect a clerk to serve from July 1, 2018 to June 30th, 2019. Andy McLean was elected as our clerk, and he's willing to do it. He did talk to the Wardsboro clerk, Jackie, and she has no interest at all in doing it. She wasn't happy about doing it at all, I guess. So Andy's willing to do it for at least the first year. We did meet with him last meeting and had quite a bit of discussions with him. And he's willing to do it for the first year if we give him a stipend of $2,000. That's why we have Section B to set a stipend of $2,000. The first budget has to be voted on by Australian ballot, and it needs to be commingled, so you don't know how the vote goes. Leland and Gray currently votes by town, and each town reports to the clerk of the Leland and Gray group. So they'll say, well, Townsend voted 54 and 50 against, and Newfane voted 64 and 40 against. This doesn't happen with ours, and that was part of the Articles of Agreement, was that the votes be commingled so that you don't know which town voted yes or no. It's the total number of votes. And we are gonna talk about that under other business. And then Article 3 is to elect the WCSU treasurer to serve from July 1st to June 30th, 2019. So a lot of places will elect the treasurer of the supervisory union as your treasurer for your district. But technically, the treasurer is supposed to be a electorate of the district, so it has to be somebody who can be elected to public office in the district. It kind of makes sense to have this WCSU treasurer do it because that's kind of what they do. However, Marco Tellini was elected from Dover as the treasurer for this year, but there's really no money to manage, and there won't be any money really to manage till after June 30th of 2019, because July 1st is when all the funds need to be transferred. But Marco is willing to do it if we need him to. If the voters don't mind, they can elect the person, and unless somebody makes an issue of it. In other towns, they've done it and nobody makes an issue and it's fine. Some towns, they've done it, people have made an issue and it hasn't worked. And I guess that was the takeaway from
what we got last time.
Yeah.
Essentially is that, we can elect them, but it's technically not legal because they're not a voter in that district, so.
But unless somebody
But unless somebody
complains,
complains about it.
I see.
I mean, the Wyndham Central Supervisor, at least for the Wardsboro School, essentially does all of our accounting anyway.
Right.
So, electing a treasurer, electing them to be treasurer makes perfect sense. It's not a lot for the person to do.
is that who you guys elect?
We don't elect anybody now.
Oh, well, you're supposed to.
So there's a perfect example.
And a lot of this stuff, as long as things are above board, I mean, now if we're doing it like we're trying to make Rick the treasurer so he can sneak away the money, so we can all go to Hawaii, when it gets below 10 degrees or something, that's you're doing something to do something wrong. I mean, the reason we would elect the Wyndham Central treasurer is not to do anything wrong or hide anything. It just kind of makes sense. It's like, there's a lot of really funky laws out there, like you can't tie your horse to a post on the Sundays. And there's other laws that, if you enforce them, you'd be like, people would be looking at you funny, like, why are you doing that? But, so we're gonna have the discussion with the voters and let the voters decide. And if they say, go ahead and do that, we feel we've been up front. If the voters say, no, we wanna follow the law to a T, then we would elect somebody to do that.
From the
Marco has
floor or
agreed to
Marco,
do
yeah.
it. Or if there's somebody from Wardsboro who's interested. Who is your town treasurer?
Jackie is.
Jack.
Oh, so the town clerk and the treasurer are the same?
Same position.
Okay. So she probably didn't want to do that either.
I don't think she wants to.
So we also put a stipend of $500 for the treasurer if it's not the WCSU person. And Marco said he wouldn't take any money, but we don't know if somebody else was to be offered the position, if they would want something. And again, dollar numbers can always be amended at the meeting. Article 4 is the vote compensation for the school directors at $1,000 for FY 2019. In Dover, we get 2,500, 2,000. You said you get
200.
200, so we kind of try to split it in the middle. I did try to get 10,000 last year from the Dover voters because the select board chair asked for $10,000 and it was kind of he screwed up a little bit. But I said just to make sure we'd be fair with the select board. That didn't go over very well. Set the date of the annual meeting is the second Tuesday in February. Odd years in Wardsboro and even years in Dover at the town halls and I know I spelled that wrong, respective towns. So that would be, every year it would be the second Tuesday and it would be sort of like town meeting. You always know is the first Tuesday in March, so everybody would know that the annual school district meeting is the second Tuesday. And then we had a bunch of articles that are not so much an action thing, but just to get information out to people, because we're hoping for a really good turnout. Because I understand that Rick Thorpe does a really nice dance at town meeting. So, to transact any other business, so A was review of board of directors meeting locations and dates, just so people know, and I don't know, some of you are here, so you must know, that we meet the first and third Mondays in the month, except when holidays fall. And we meet the first Monday in Wardsboro, and the second meeting, the third Monday we meet in Dover, and we meet at the schools, and we usually meet for 7 p.m. Review of the work done by the board of directors to this date, so somebody will give a report on what we've been doing. Review the work calendar of the board of directors through September 2019. The last 3 meetings,
We've got to put together a calendar.
yeah, kind of like where we think we want to be over the next several months. Remembering that this time next year, we'll be talking about an actual budget to vote on. So we'll have to have numbers, and we'll have to know what things are gonna look like in the school. D is discuss the election of directors representing Wardsboro. I'll let you do that one, Rick.
Well, we've always elected from the floor, and
Right.
you guys have always done it by ballot.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we.
So our articles say you have to elect by
By
ballot.
ballot.
And
So,
some people in Wardsboro thought maybe it'd be nice to elect them from the floor at your town meeting. But that, so we can amend the articles to do that, but if most people in Wardsboro don't care to do that, then it's not a big deal, and you can elect by ballot. And if
Right.
you want to elect from the floor, then we can make that an article next year too.
And there won't be any elections this year for officers, because the shortest term is 2 years. So it's not anything, we're not electing this year at the annual meeting, but
be the next year.
it'll be the following year.
So is the difference in that if you're at town meeting, then you're there for the vote, and if it's by ballot, then it's like
Right.
you
Come
have a
during the
chunk of
day and
time
vote.
to go in and cast
Yeah.
your vote?
Okay.
Yes.
So whichever, yeah, we traditionally in Wardsboro, we've done it from the floor.
Sure.
But if that's why we put it on here, is we want to see what people think. You know, but it was only from Wardsboro, or it's from your own town.
So the other
Yeah.
The
Well,
other,
and I just feel like there's not a fight for it, so whatever works for.
well, right now, but we're gonna, when we get up to $1,000, we're gonna have people duking
There's
it out in the
real money.
streets.
Right. Right.
No, the other issue is like if you do it by ballot, then you have to have a petition signed.
Right.
So if you do it from the floor, you can nominate her and
Yeah.
somebody seconds it and you're all done.
Yeah. I
Where,
like it.
it could be a last minute thing, where if you actually want to run on a ballot, you have to think a little bit ahead.
Sounds
You
complex.
have, you have to get the ballot signed by 10% of the voters, or 1% of the voters, and then you have to get it in, and then you're on the ballot. And
How does the participation range from town to town? Like when you vote on the floor, I would assume there's a lot less participation in the actual vote,
Totally
right?
Right, yeah,
Who can
I mean,
call
usually
in?
in Dover, you get 100 to 130 people at town meeting, but when you go to a vote, people can come in from 10 o'clock till 7 p.m., so you usually maybe get an extra 50 to 75, depending on what's going on. If there's something really controversial, I think, isn't it every 4th year the presidential primary is at town meeting, voted on at the same time?
Maybe.
I know there's some things that have sparked, like in Dover, if you've got zoning on the ballot and it's controversial,
people
it tends to bring more people in. So even though a lot of people like Mickey Mouse or anybody but Richie, you do get sometimes a bigger turnout for those. The other problem is remember, this isn't really the town meeting, this is gonna be a school district meeting, so if you vote from the floor, we've never had a joint meeting, so we don't know what kind of turnout you're gonna get.
Right.
So it would probably be voted at your town meeting
Right.
instead, and then it's whatever you usually get for a turnout at town meeting, which,
Well, the other thing was, we had our meeting, the school portion, the night before.
I was just gonna ask if
Right.
that's what I'm looking at for this
So,
February one, that's the
moving forward,
difference
we won't be having the meeting on the Monday night prior.
before,
So-
starting this year.
This year you will.
This year we will. This is
Oh, okay.
the next year. we want, there'll no longer be a.
Right, this
board-
is just so we can
So-
get some input if we're on the
Sure.
agenda, if on the warning for next year, that Wardsboro says, hey, you know, at this meeting, you know, every Wardsboro voter said, hey, we really want to vote from the floor again.
Yeah,
And
so-
at your school district meeting, this will be your last one, people say, hey, we'd really like to see our people on the board elected
Sure.
from the
So,
floor,
yeah.
then we can work on that, could get that on the ballot for next
Gotcha.
year.
So in addition to all the other positions during normal town meeting, also the school board would be on that
Gotcha.
as well. If you want to do it that way. We could also do it by ballot.
So
Wanna
Wardsboro's
do whatever's
meeting,
easier.
regular school board meeting is the Monday night before the Tuesday town meeting. When is Dover's?
Town meeting day.
Town meeting day.
It's actually on town meeting day. Thank you.
You know, and we've done the same thing. I mean, we've had discussions where we get better turnout if we had a night meeting, if we had a Saturday meeting, and, you know, it's pretty much, a lot of people are still kind of traditionalists, you know, like town meeting's supposed to be this day. So, and then you're supposed to start, you know, tapping out your maple trees the same day or something.
I was gonna say, I appreciate that ours is the night before because I can't usually make it to town meeting, but I do enjoy going to the school budget.
Well,
portion.
and
And that's why this is.
comes in right into the next question.
Excellent.
Is discuss the budget vote in February 2019 as well as budget votes thereafter. So, for some reason, and I think it was, I don't know why the legislature did it, we're required to have the first budget vote for the district be an Australian ballot. And a lot of board members don't like that. Those of us that have been voting from the floor for years, because people can vote against the budget and you have no clue why. You know, it could be that the budget isn't high enough. It could be the budget's too high. It could be something specific that people want to see and you don't know because all you get to do is say yes or no.
Right.
And it's really difficult to know what the no's mean, and sometimes it's even difficult to know what the yeses mean. You know, was it just because they don't care? And that's why it's always been good when we've had, you know, at least we find in Dover, and I think from talking to Rick and your board, the Wardsboro people, it's good to have a conversation because then you get to discuss it and have a respectful conversation. And, you know, and I went to your Wardsboro's meeting last year, and Dr. Backus runs a really fun meeting. So we have to have that the first year, but we can vote to do it by voice vote at the annual school district meeting, not at the town meeting. It would be at this meeting that we're talking about that, you know, will be the second Tuesday of February in the two towns. So we wanted to bring that up and see. Both towns do vote from the floor
Yes.
and seem to like it. And I don't remember, Dwight, if you do, but I know we questioned why we had to do it, and I'm pretty sure we recall
Why we had to
it
do
was
this?
why we had to do it by Australian ballot.
Everything that we understood, they told us we had to do it that way.
Yeah, at least for the first.
But there is no budget vote again this year, just like there's no, because there's no budget. Not,
Right.
won't be an actual budget for the following year.
So the district is spending money, but we have a grant money. We have some grant money, and that's what we're using. And then what will happen is if we spend more than we have from the grant, then we will, each school district will kick in some funds to cover it. And then we'll just kind of retroactively have you guys vote to approve it. But we're not gonna, I promise we're not going to Hawaii.
And you're just spending money on the schools? That's what you're.
It will be
We
to
spent money on
to
the
the
accounting
district.
system.
Accounting and legal and
exciting.
things like
You
that.
know, things like that.
Gotcha.
To
Okay.
make the school and attorney's
Sure.
fees, if we have, you know, sometimes like the ballot, some ballot questions, we've had, Andy McLean asked to be able to contact an attorney to find out how we
Okay.
can change the, you know, to find out about the treasury, found out about, the commingling of the votes and how to change that if we
Okay.
wanted to, and, so those are the kind of things that we spend money on.
Excellent.
And then any other public concerns can be legally discussed. So we can't tell you what the winning lotto tickets are gonna be. We can't talk about specific staff or students, but if people had general questions like, you know, what color are the school buses gonna be, we could probably discuss those. So is there any questions from anybody, board or public or staff or Anita on the warning? Is there anything we missed?
I think so. We've been over it a few times.
Right, I
You know,
think
you
it-
got everything.
I found my notes from last time. where I scribbled, so except for the spelling mistakes, are we all good? Does anybody?
Well, just hearing you say buses, and I know like when this all first went out, it just sparked that initial question of, because Dover owns buses and Wardsboro rents buses, so has that been discussed, like what will happen with that? It'll just,
So we're gonna talk in a few minutes, when we get this done, we're gonna talk about
Okay.
the calendar of events and where
Okay.
we're gonna discuss that, so if you can
Awesome.
hold that.
I can.
We'll be covering that here in a couple
Perfect.
minutes. So is there, if there's no comments,
Comments
yes?
on this?
I have a question. On Article 2, it says to elect a clerk. Now, if I write up a little public service announcement or press release, how do I describe the clerk? He's the clerk of this board
He's
exclusive?
the clerk of the River Valleys Unified School District.
So the clerk of the board, not the clerk of anything
No,
else?
not of the
Got it.
board,
Another board.
not of the board. The clerk of the board is a board member. He's the clerk of the
District.
River Valleys Unified School District.
Got
It's
it.
like a town clerk or a school district clerk.
Got it.
Right.
Thank you.
And that's the same
have
with
it.
the treasurer. The treasurer is not the treasurer of the board, the treasurer is the treasurer of the district.
Got
Do we
it.
elect a clerk now currently?
Yeah, Andy.
Andy's our clerk. Yeah,
Right,
of course.
we elected him at.
We elected
at the
Andy,
first
Marco, and
Dr.
Val.
Backus.
Yeah.
And then we elected Sarah Shippey to be to run that
The
meeting.
first meeting, yeah. That's what I thought, yeah, okay.
All right, informational meetings?
Yeah, we'll get to that
Okay, no.
once we have an agenda. So, nobody has any issues, we just need a motion. Rick moves, do I have a second?
Second.
Barry seconds it. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Cool. Motion carries.
Nice job.
So,
Now, that was to approve the warning?
the warning as presented. So there's just two
Two spelling errors.
two spelling errors.
Also, River Valleys doesn't have an apostrophe.
3 spelling errors.
Well, no, there's probably 4, because then I've got River Valleys twice.
As corrected.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so as part of our Articles of Agreement, we agreed to, I can't believe the administrators didn't catch that on me and correct me.
Also at the title, it should say, I think River Valley's Unified
Unified.
School District.
unified design.
Yeah. Cool.
So just to be clear, we're
Matt,
talking about two
Get
different
your
river valleys.
computer.
Yes.
Can you plug
This
the
one.
USB in? Can you plug one of these things, thumb drives in your USB? So if you look on there, there should be, it should say, yeah, document for this date. It's not in a folder, it's just on the, and then, can you make those corrections? And then if you
I
can-
wondered how
can
that
you
came out
send
with
it to
the-
Tammy? Yeah.
It's like when it's
Hey
an
Tammy, if he's gonna just put it, see if he can make those corrections and send it. Okay, and then that way we can hand them out to everybody tonight. That would be really appreciative. So part of our Articles of Agreement said that we would also hold public meetings in both towns, pre-meetings. So like in Dover, the week before town meeting, we hold a pre-town meeting, and we just kind of go over the articles, and it's a good time for us to see how many mistakes we made, and then people get to tell us, that we spelled unified wrong, or Dover wrong, or stuff like that. So we have discussed amongst our, the board, and we picked 4 dates to have meetings.
4 days.
Yeah, because we're gonna do
2 in each town.
Oh.
2 in each town, and 1 in each town will be when we meet for the regular district meeting. The first part of the meeting will be to review the town meeting, and then we'll hold a meeting specifically just to discuss the special meeting, or the annual meeting. Do you have the minutes for those dates?
For which dates?
The dates of the meetings that we're gonna hold, the informational meetings?
Oh, they would be in the previous minutes?
Yes,
Yeah, I'll dig them up.
unless, does somebody have them?
I think that was 12/18.
Yes.
Yes.
The meeting of 12/18, we picked 4 dates.
4? Those 2.
So, special meeting, it should have been January 30th in Dover at 7 PM,
Yeah. And that.
February 6th in Wardsboro at 7 PM,
Got those.
and then at the regular meeting on January 16th in Dover, and the regular meeting February 5th in Dover, in Wardsboro.
Well, what I have is set up informational meetings for the annual meeting. Is that what
Yep.
you're looking for?
Yep, February 5th should be in Wardsboro.
This will be done at January and February board meetings, the second Monday in Dover, January 30th in Dover at the school, February 6th in Dover. Does that make any
No, it's
sense?
February 6th in Wardsboro.
It was on February 5th.
That was a regular board meeting. We have a regular board meeting February 5th in
Oh, our regular
Wardsboro.
board meeting. Yeah,
So we're
okay.
having
Yep.
two
All
meetings
right.
in each town. One is specific just to informational, and those are January 30th in Dover and February 6th in Wardsboro.
Town hall?
That was, no, we decided to have those at the
Here,
schools,
here.
because it was easier to get the schools. And then at the regular River Valley Unified School District meeting,
Mhm.
on January 16th in Dover, the
Yeah.
first part of the meeting, first half hour or so will be to discuss the annual meeting. And then at February 5th at Wardsboro, at the regular River Valley's Unified School District meeting, we'll discuss the annual meeting for like the first half hour.
I think you got that right.
Well,
Right,
that's what
okay.
my notes say,
And then
but,
February 6th in Wardsboro will be at 7 o'clock as well.
yeah,
Actually, the board
we
just
picked
voted.
7.
Yeah, the Wardsboro, at the same day as the Wardsboro's meeting, they
Yeah.
voted to start their meeting at 5, so they'll be.
Okay. Cool. So is everybody good with that?
Plenty
Got all
of
those
meetings.
dates?
Yeah, goodness.
Okay.
And just so we're clear, all of those are 7 o'clock, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Because our regular board
Because the
meetings are
regular
at
ones are
7.
Yes.
Okay.
Yikes.
So that was a big thing we need to get done. So going through our normal agendas that we do, we usually have a spot for members of the public. So did anybody from the public have anything they want to say other than just see how we act?
That's where my bus question comes in.
No, if you, like I said, hold that till we go over the calendar. That's gonna be
You let me
in a
know.
few minutes. Okay. And then usually the superintendent, but he's not here. He had another meeting to go to. Usually communications, Anita, any updates?
The website is up to date. Everything that I can post is posted. Front Porch Forum is up to date for both towns. The Bucketville came out and it carried that little statement you made, and they did get all the dates in there. I don't know if you got it in the mail yet, but it came out as an e-edition. So that was all out. And public service announcements went out for all the January stuff. So my next step is to write up everything you just discussed for the last 40 minutes on the articles and on the informational meetings, and make that into a press release, public service announcement. And I'll need that approved by either you or Rick by Monday, because I have to get it into the Bucketville at the latest on Monday. So I'll type that up and email that to both of you to quickly review, and then I can send that into the Bucketville. How much of this do you want me to put in the public,
I don't know what that is.
the articles? Do you want
Oh,
me to
yeah, I think
summarize
you-
it
no,
or
I-
type it
yeah.
up straight?
I think you can put it right
You
in
can put it
straight.
right in the way it
'cause-
is,
I'll put it
I mean,
right
yeah,
with the
that-
corrections, of course.
with the corrections, correct.
Right.
All right, so I'll include as much of this as I
And,
possibly
and
can.
just so you know, I always tell everybody, when you pick on my grammar and my spelling, I'm a proud graduate of Leland and Gray High School.
So unless you guys have some specific instructions for me on this next batch of press releases and public service announcements and updates.
I don't have anything.
I like
Really
those-
just-
Oh,
yeah,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead. No.
I like those things, those flyers you've made up. Those are, you know, I see them in town now, so I think they help a lot.
Yeah, we'll ask these
Does
people
everybody
why
know,
they're-
Yeah,
so,
I was just gonna say
since we got a lot of new public
Yeah,
here,
that's-
so Anita, pardon?
What's that?
What?
Just tell Tennille is what they're saying.
Oh,
I shared what your wife shared.
so when we were doing the study committee, and Dwight and I were on that, there was a gentleman named Randy Capitani who runs the Deerfield Valley News, and we were talking about publicity. And one of the things that we said is that we really needed somebody who kind of does that. So we hired Anita, and we found her to be a great value and a great asset. So when we formed, after we were able to form River Valleys and we organized the board, we asked Anita to work with us again, and we feel like she's really good at doing this, getting the stuff out. So she does a lot with Front Porch Forum and a bunch. You want to take 2 minutes and just where everything's available?
Yeah, the goal was to make it as widely available as we could, not just to parents and people connected with the schools, but the public as well. So stuff goes to the Reformer, the Commons, the Deerfield Valley News, And then it also goes to Front Porch Forum for both towns. I had to get special permission to post in both towns. It goes in the Bucketville News. As you know, from Wardsboro, we're in a little bit of a news blackout here. We're not really covered by either paper, so I try to get things in the Bucketville. There's the blog site, River Valley's Unified School District, and so I try to post that little blog thing as many places as I can. And in different places it says ask a question, so if you see on the posters or other different places it says that. I also send out posters for every batch of meetings to the schools, the town clerks, and the libraries in each town. So that goes out, and I notice that the schools do post them, the libraries posted it. I guess it's posted at town office. I saw it, yeah, I know it's posted at Wardsboro Town Office. I've seen it on a couple of bulletin boards around town. But that said, if y'all have any better suggestions of where you think it could be or should be or ought to be, let me know, or let them know, and they'll tell me if it's possible to reach a bigger group of people. We'll do it.
Okay, any questions? Any comments?
Did you say social media? I'm sorry.
Huh?
Did you mention social media? I'm sorry.
Social media was a topic of discussion amongst the board members, more so than with myself. And one of the conclusions with social media, in particular Facebook, was that it implies immediate participation, and we can't always guarantee that. So this group is not monitoring, Facebook the way normal people monitor
Because when the questions or
Facebook,
stuff come up, it might not get
which is
answered.
24/7. So what we're doing is relying on the ask a question box to, email your question, then I forward the questions to them, they give me the answers, and then either I reply or write something that clarifies the question. At some point, once this board is its own board between the two unified school districts, there may be a way to incorporate social media in a way that doesn't demand immediate interaction.
I was gonna say, maybe you guys could appoint or
Well-
just gently request from somebody that they post it on social media. That way it's not coming directly from you, but the information is out there.
Right.
school
Well,
club or
Laura,
something.
Laura's been doing some of that.
Yeah, some of hers
She's not
does,
here
and
tonight.
I share whenever it comes across, because I am friends with her, and like I shared this meeting and the whole Deerfield Valley piece, because
Right.
Sarah, like it came across mine from Sarah with her nice little blurb, like, hey folks, I was like, here we go,
Yeah.
pass it along the
Yeah,
river.
no, we would certainly encourage, and I believe the board would agree, dialogue amongst the citizenry, amongst your own Facebook pages, and, whether you're doing Snapchat, Instagram, whatever. But I think this board decided that they didn't want to be present 24/7 the way social
Well,
media.
The other problem is as a board, we only have authority to act as a board when we're meeting as a board. So really, if Rick
For
or
one of
I
us
or-
to reply is not really
You can't-
proper. I
you
mean,
can't
I
do
can't
that.
speak for everybody else
No,
here,
that
nor can
engagement
Rich
would
or anybody else.
Right.
In the
so.
sense that you guys couldn't engage, but
Yeah.
just
Right.
like having the information that that some community member is sharing it, like this.
And that's what we were hoping that people, if they had that, they would forward it to the website, and
I don't know
then,
how it works, can you just do a wall that has like this is where just like that information goes up?
Yeah,
And then the
well-
email's on there?
that's a good wall right there.
That's a good wall.
Blog site, right?
Yeah,
Let
but
me
I don't
do.
drive into this wall every day.
That's true.
We have that, we have
I
ask
don't either,
a
my kids
question,
don't
don't
Yeah,
we?
but that's all on the blog. She's talking about a wall on Facebook.
Oh.
Yeah, but I'll look into that. I know what that is, and my concern is that again there'll be interaction in that framework that we're not able to respond to.
Okay.
And sometimes, you don't wanna get into like, sometimes Facebook people just,
It's true.
they,
Yeah. You don't
it's
even
not,
have to finish
it's
a
more of
sentence.
not so much, asking questions, but more of,
Commentary.
You would like
Yeah.
to avoid the troll population.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
no, well, not, it just, it makes it really difficult, because like if Rick or I responded to something on Facebook and then, we can't speak as a board, so, one of the things they do in school board training is they do this years ago. I don't know if you remember it when we did it at Riverbend, they did this training thing, and they had this skit where, a parent came up to a board member and said, my son got benched at basketball practice, and the board member says, well, I'm gonna get that coach and I'm gonna tell him that your son has to play a minimum, and, all the inappropriate things that we do, because it's not appropriate for any Wardsboro board member to go to your administrator and say, hey, I want this, this, and this, because as an individual board member, there is nothing there. There's a chain of command.
You're just a parent.
Yeah.
Just a parent.
You don't
Yeah, and any
Well, or a
questions that
community
come into
member,
me,
Or a community member or whatever.
I'm obligated to forward them to the board. I'm not able to answer them. All I say is, thank you, we received your
Yeah.
question. I'll take it to the next meeting. That's
Sure.
all I can do.
And what we did during the study group too, because the study group was, what we would do is a couple of us would answer them, but then we would bring it back to the group at the next meeting to just make sure everybody was good with the
Sure.
responses.
I mean, technically, we can only do business here.
Right,
Do you know what I mean?
right.
When we have a warned meeting.
Yep.
I mean, that's the way the open meeting laws work,
Gotcha.
so.
So is everybody good? We beat that one pretty good?
What's the blog again?
Huh?
What's the blog?
It's River Valleys School District.blogspot.com.
So Unified is not in there?
Unified is not in there, it just made it way too long.
No, that's fine, just making
And
Yeah.
sure.
both
And
the
there's no
school
apostrophe,
websites
buddy.
have a link.
Oh,
No,
okay.
isn't
Both-
it-
yeah,
two S's.
it's linked
Have a
on.
link on the school website.
It's linked on the school website, right? It's linked on the school website.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've asked the towns to post it so far. I don't think Dover's posted it on their homepage, the link to the blog. I think that there's no link to the blog on WCSU that I know of. The Wardsboro website does have a link to the blog because I am the one that does that website, so it's on there. There's even a little thing on the head of the page that says, what's happening with the Dover Wardsboro School Unification? Ask a question, click here, and you
Nice.
click there and it goes right to the blog.
Sounds-
So it's all over the Wardsboro website.
Okay.
But I think the towns and the schools have been a little slow to link to it.
It's on the school sites too.
Is it on your site?
Yeah, it's on
On the
both.
school
It's on
site.
your site
Yeah,
now? Okay.
yeah.
It's on the school website.
It should be on WCSU, I thought.
I
saw
couldn't
it.
find the link. I'll look for it again.
Call over, Matt, do you know who you should
Kevin.
call?
It's Kevin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always email Kevin. I'll check
Okay.
with him again.
Hey, Matt, I'm sorry, on the warning for the River Valley, can you put a signature line with our names on the
Oh, yeah, we
bottom
can
so we
sign
can
that.
sign that tonight?
How many signature lines?
6.
Six.
And you had put in red pen about Dr.
Dr. Moderator.
Did you need me to add a
No,
name to
no,
that?
I was just.
I thought so. Just double
Dr.
check.
Moderator.
Maybe that was margin
Thinking.
note.
I was thinking. It's been a long, it's my second day of unemployment, I'm not adjusting well. Members of the public, we did, communications we covered, are we all good with communications? So, I think the next thing we're up to is calendar of events. So this is where we were asking you to hang tight on for a couple minutes. So I got one copy. It's 3 pages. So basically, we as a group worked through a work schedule on what this group was gonna be doing for the next month and a half. So we worked on. Year and a half, I'm sorry. So December through January were consideration of offering floor vote option for future budget and board meeting elections. So we've kind of accomplished that. That's gonna be on the warning. We had to get an annual meeting warning for February 2018, which we did. We had the informational meeting, so there are the dates that we had picked. And then we had a question we were gonna work on. Are we a new school district or will we be combining 2 schools with 1 board? And so we want to know what we are, 2 school buildings with neither closing, direct responsibility for children's education, birth to 6th grade, and assistance to and providing tuition to children, education grade 7 to completion. Because we're both, we're both tuitioning schools. December through a question mark, we have to do contract negotiations for a contract for staff. January through March, we're gonna work on a vision statement, which we're hopefully gonna try to get a little bit started tonight, depending on time. Our guiding principles, and then try to get community engagement. So we were talking about a questionnaire for the annual meeting as well as shared during town meetings and school district meetings in March to, make sure we get some input from parents, public, community members, staff. March through May, we're hoping on working on programming in the building. The administrators of both buildings have done a lot of work putting together what is offered in both buildings. Curriculum alignment, program enhancement. And it was gonna be a general discussion so the administration can utilize this for their work over the summer. And it's not specific to any positions, people, classes, but more guiding principles. There's a question, does IB fit in? The question on transportation that you were asking, and educational opportunities. And there was a question, should this be with the top one? Does IB fit in? Does educational opportunities and IB kind of work together? It's on the back of the front page. And then June through July, the administration will develop specifics for a new unified school district. And there's a note there that this is where we let go of the reins, leading the ship to our world-class operation and allow the educational experts to do their work in designing the program that they believe meets and encompasses our mission, vision, and guiding principles after listening to the discussion and work done by the boards during the spring and early summer. The board will still meet, however, these meetings will be for the administration to request more guidance from the board and the public so that we as a group, public, administration, and board are in agreement, understanding. In August, the administration would then unveil specifics of the River Valley schools, and the board and the public will work with the administration to complete the process as well as presenting it to the public, possibly a longer work session. We were thinking maybe like a 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. dinner meeting. Staffing, curriculum, grade structure, services, financial requirements, transportation, capital budgeting, equipment, and other needed assets. And then September through December, the board and administration work together to create an FY 2020 budget based on the work of the administration and the board. The board creates the agenda for the annual meeting for FY 20, which will be held will be decided at the meeting in February of 2019. And then October through November, we need to work on secondary choice tuition to recommend at annual meeting. And then May through October, so May of 2018 through October of 2019. No, it was supposed to be October 2018, I'm sorry. We have to work on, one of the policies that's required in our articles was how to determine the building of attendance, which building do the different students go to. So we worked on, there was...
So I'm sorry, did you say that should be 2018?
Yeah, it should be this May through October of 2018. So it actually should go before that one above it, and I don't know why I put it there. So we decided with 6 board members, we would have we'd have concentrations, and each board member would kind of be responsible for one of the concentrations. So our 6 concentrations were building and grounds, which Dwight is gonna be in charge of. Community engagement was Katie. Education and curriculum was
me.
Ricky. Negotiations was me. Transportation was Laura, no, it was you. Barry, and then we gave Laura the question mark, so kind of anything, policy and anything else that came in.
And so, we already have a bunch of policies passed, all the state mandated ones, so.
All the boilerplate ones.
Exactly, all the ones that we don't really have too much time to muck around with.
And one of the things that a couple policies we did not do yet, because we definitely need to get public input. And we'd also had talked about trying to form a policy committee with parents and community members, is the transportation and the building, which building you attend. And the superintendent had a cool name for it, and I forget what he called it for that policy. But it's basically which building, one of the things we asked, or we talked about in the articles was, have a policy for which building children attend, and to have some guidelines like consider siblings, consider location, consider the needs of the child, and what the buildings have. So there's another piece of paper, and I think this you put on the website too. It was a kind of a review, and I'd gone through to kind of get us moving a little bit. I put together a 4-page document, which is Act 46 study findings. And what I did was, in the Articles of Agreement that we voted on, there were several points that were made, several articles, and said that these were things that we have to do as a board. And Article 1 was educational opportunities, so that opportunities be extended to all students in the district. Article 4 was transportation, and transportation is in the most cost-effective and safest manner possible. Article 5 would be union contracts, and we have to negotiate contracts. Article 6 is curriculum alignment. Article 7 is program enhancement. Article 13 is prior to full operation, the board needs to have policy development, budget development, consideration of offering the voters of option of using a floor vote, transportation, operational procedures and contractual agreements. Article 14 is budget, elections, and public questions. Article 16 is secondary school choice, and Article 18 is the school of attendance. And Article 19 is local participation in policy and budget development. Did we put this on the, let me give you this, and we put, I don't know if I have this. Do you want that? Can we put
I
that?
can retype it unless you can email it to me.
Okay, let me email it to you. So I'll get this out, so we can, actually, can we make copies of this
Sure.
too? So it'd be good to give to everybody. So that's the calendar event, so that's when those items in specific will be discussed. So transportation is, if you have thoughts now, it'd be, if you wanna relay them to us, especially to him. And then they'll be discussed at a future date. But it's better if you can put stuff in writing and address it to the whole board, so the whole
Okay.
board gets to see it. Or,
Sure.
again, to, the blog site, and then we can, put it down. So
Okay.
we're definitely gonna be looking for input, but we also said that's nothing that we need to make a decision now. So we wanna publicize it so people can be aware of it, and, we can get as much people to weigh in.
Yeah.
One of the things on the study committee,
No, I was just thinking, we have all these people here, it would be nice to get some of the ideas now, to have a few things, just to hear them.
yeah,
I think
and-
they're good now, but I don't know what point if you want to do that now, or.
okay, go ahead.
Another thing is, we're looking for people to get involved with this, like, we're gonna do like a subcommittee.
For each group.
We're
Well,
hoping
it's,
to.
what is it? It's
Now, let's put
Learning
this
it's
in
a
group.
learning group.
Learning groups.
That's what it's called now, is a learning
For
group.
each of the
Each of the
areas that
guidelines.
you guys have
Well,
taken on?
More
For some of the
specifically for
bigger-
transportation.
And the school of attendance,
And the
which
school
school
of
you
attendance
attend.
part.
Yep.
So, I mean, if you come across anybody that really is very interested in how the process is gonna go and, wanna participate in it, we're looking for people to kind of
Okay.
put a group together.
Put their name out there.
And
Can I ask?
Nope, hang on a second.
That work plan that you just outlined, that's 12 months or 18 months?
It's 18 months.
Thank you.
Well, no, actually now it's less than
It's
that.
less
It's-
now.
it's
It was
going
18
down.
months when we first.
It was 18.
Yeah, it's supposed to get us through to the start of the new
Start of
school.
the school year.
To, when we present a budget for the new school
2019?
district,
So from now till September 2019?
No,
August 2019?
till February of 2020. No, February 2019, I'm
19.
sorry, 2019.
Got it, thank you.
Because it's FY 2020.
Got it, so it's the next 13 months.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.
So I was gonna ask if this work schedule was posted on the blog.
No, it's the first
Oh,
I've seen it,
okay.
heard it. so.
Just because, as somebody who would say, oh, I'd really like to know when they're gonna be talking about this. I
Right.
think it would be a great idea to break down these dates, like, okay, this is the meeting date, this is the place.
I agree.
This is what we're talking about.
I
And
can do that if you send it to me.
I think that would just be really helpful for, if you
Well,
want.
that's what this
to
was
get-
set up to be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how we
We just
designed
did
it.
that
We
at the
just-
last meeting.
We just did that.
That's, and I think
Perfect.
that,
Input is great.
the more specific, we're talking about these things on this meeting date at this location,
Well,
at this time.
So here's how it's gonna be. I'm gonna tell you right now. You can do all
I know,
that,
you-
and it doesn't work,
doesn't
because we
work.
get a snowstorm, or we'll have no board members show up. So what we're gonna do
But it
is,
can be the goal.
those are the dates. The meetings are held at the first and third Mondays. The first Monday's in Wardsboro, the third Monday's in Dover, at 7 p.m. And there'll be agendas from now
Agenda.
on.
Good.
And you'll be able to see on the agenda what's gonna be discussed, and this, so these are up for,
So I think you can
they'll
do,
be discussed at multiple times. It's not gonna be like one meeting, we're gonna discuss transportation, make a decision, and we're all done.
These
It's
are
gonna
really
be at
complicated
multiple-
issues.
Sure.
You know, they're not-
Definitely
Sure.
multiple meetings, they'll be discussed numerous times, I'm sure.
Well, I think this just helps because, I mean, I can only imagine, like, hey, my hat's off to you guys. I don't want to sit in those seats. I know you have a lot going on. But this does help. Like, I know as a community member, I'm like, I've been to a few of these meetings, and I feel like, you know, there's like, okay, these are sort of abstractly the things that we need to talk about, and it is really nice to see this, because every time I come, I'm like, ooh, are they gonna talk about this thing that I've been thinking about? And it's like, ooh, we're not there yet. And it's like, okay, and then I'm afraid that I'm gonna miss when it's actually happening, and I have something to say about it.
Good point.
So,
Yeah, it's a good point. I
We
think
put up
most,
the agendas
Yeah,
on
we're
the school
supposed to.
websites.
No, they're supposed to be. I thought I sent this
I know
one
we
out.
post them, but.
No, if the agendas are supposed to go on the websites also.
so do both, you know, we'll have the guidelines and then also a week prior. or
We'll
whatever,
have three
we'll have
things.
the agendas as well.
We'll have this thing out.
Right,
We'll have the,
right.
we'll have the calendar, we'll have the work schedule,
No, an agenda.
and then we'll have an agenda.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's a good point.
And it has been a little crazy just trying to, because there was a lot of general stuff, and now we're trying to get more focused and specifically so we can accomplish something, not just feel like we're spinning our wheels.
yeah.
Boom. Is there any, so we're all good with the calendar, nothing?
Yeah, you send it to me, I'll
Okay.
make it pretty and post
And
it.
make it pretty, yeah.
Just make copies of it.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Sure.
And then just make sure I get a copy of that. And were you able, Matt, to do the thing with the, or-
I'm gonna grab it.
okay, so we'll just make sure we get that
Just one copy,
signed.
is all you need, Rich?
I'm sorry, what?
Just only want
Just
one
the
copy
one.
to sign?
Let's make 2 to sign, and then that way we can send, I don't know if the signed ones have to be posted in both towns.
Okay.
So we'll have 2 signed ones, we'll give one to Wardsboro and one to Dover to make sure.
Better safe than sorry.
Yeah, and it's, while we got everybody together. Okay, so the next thing we were talking about was, so we adopted our mission statement way back, and then we've been discussing that since July of last year. And then the next thing we're supposed to do is work on our vision. And Bill was gonna help me set something up to discuss the vision. And he's not here tonight, and I feel lost. So the mission statement is a broad statement on what the school district wants to accomplish. And I know that's on the website, right?
Well, the articles are posted, so it is in the context of the articles.
Okay, because it wasn't one of the articles. We adopted a mission statement, I'm sorry, for River Valleys. And I don't happen to have my copy. Does somebody have the mission statement?
Looking.
If you just want it read, I have it on my.
Yeah.
Do you mind reading it, please?
I will read it to you. Are you ready? This is July 11th, 2017. Does that sound like the latest version?
Yes.
River Valley's School District Mission Statement. Our mission is to educate our students to become inquiring, knowledgeable, and caring global citizens through challenging academic programs. We will provide a safe and supportive environment that will connect our students, their families, and the community while respecting and celebrating each town's local identity. It's possible I typed "our students" twice.
Yes.
I don't know if
Cross
I,
one out.
okay, so I don't know if I made this document or if somebody else did, but it appears there are 2 students. Does that sound like
That is
what you recall?
Yes.
Okay.
Barry actually found his. So that's our mission statement. Every school board starts off with a mission statement. And then we need to develop a vision. And our vision is what we see in broad strokes, the education being offered in this new district. And then we give 5 or 6 guidelines. So, and the guidelines are kind of considered to be like the guardrails. to where we wanna stay in between. So, the West River District, the Leland and Gray District, their vision statement is that the West River School District is committed to providing effective oversight of a transition to a unified district that celebrates a culture of innovation, exploration, and community partnership. The board envisions the district will provide the following for every student-centered learning, to encourage exploration, discovery, and development of personal passions, core competencies as demonstrated by proficiency-based learning and graduation standards. Luckily, we don't have graduation standards to worry about. Lifelong learning to foster curiosity and critical learning skills and physical well-being, and to incorporate practical applications of learning into personal goals. Civic engagement to develop relationships and competencies, including cultural competency, resulting in community participation and active citizenship in local and global communities. And safe and inclusive environments to assure that all voices are heard and valued, to encourage alternative paths, and providing safe, civil, positive learning environments and opportunities for students to develop healthy habits of mind and body. So we need to work on what we think our vision should be for our school district.
It sounds so much like almost like a mission statement. Let's see if
I know,
there's not much really
but
specific
it's
in
supposed to
there.
be more specific.
More specific.
Right, because the mission statement just says challenging academic programs, knowledgeable and caring global citizens.
You just kind of expanded on that a little bit.
Yeah, I think. Well, let's go back to the big question, the big elephant in the room. Is this new district just putting two school districts together with one board, or is this a whole new school with, starting over again, starting from scratch? What do you guys think of that from the public?
Starting from scratch?
Physical or talking a new school as in?
No, well, so, one of the things we agreed is that we don't want to ever close a building in either town. And we try to put every safeguard into that we could, and it actually got us in a little bit of trouble. Because in Dover, we actually said that, we were very specific, and because it didn't match exactly what Wardsboro said, we had to revote ours. But we felt very strongly as a committee that had to be foremost, that no school building could be closed without not only the vote of the board, majority vote of the board, but a vote of the community in which that building is. And we actually got a lot of pushback on that, and we basically told the state that if you don't do that, we're not going to be able to even bring this to the voters. So that is definitely something that we feel very strongly about. We need two buildings. Plus, I don't even know if either building could really house everybody. I know your building couldn't, and I don't even think in Dover. How many students in Wardsboro?
45.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be really close. I mean, so I don't think there's ever an ability for us to do that.
I think I know what you were saying by school, saying is that, but I think when you think school, people think physical location. Right. So even though it is considering two physical locations, we need to be careful with that language in terms of so I know what you're saying by, is it one new, starting from scratch? I guess you can't call it an organization. What would you call it?
I think starting from scratch is a
Locations that are
little,
really
and that's a little.
Right, that's one end of the extreme. And
Exactly.
I think, just putting two schools together under one board is the other extreme. So somewhere in between hopefully lies what we really want to try to accomplish. But how?
Yeah.
It's the end of the day.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
Oh, no.
Oh no, Meeker's kind of a wordsmith, so I
Oh.
was
That's
challenging
just
him to
stumped on
come
the
up
word.
with something to really show the unification that
So,
you're
well,
looking for.
one of the things that we discussed because remember Marlboro was involved in the
Right.
in our discussions. So we talked about there was not going to be a Marlboro school, there wasn't going to be a Dover school, and there wasn't going to be a Wardsboro school. There was going to be the River Valleys Unified School District, with buildings in Wardsboro, Dover, and Marlboro. And I think that may be the kind of the way to start, is that, you know, it's one school district with 2 buildings.
But will it no longer be called Wardsboro Elementary School?
Well, I
That's a topic of discussion.
there is no Wardsboro, there will not be officially a Wardsboro Elementary School anymore. There'll be a school building in Wardsboro, just like there'll be no more Dover Elementary School.
I did not realize that the actual names of the schools.
Well, that's why,
may change.
that's why we had it picked in.
But the other thing is, you know, we realize each school has its local identities based on their elementary school in their town.
Mhm.
So it's kind of hard to take away that identity of
Sure.
your town with that. However, also taking into consideration is equal opportunities, like whatever is offered in one school, it needs to be offered. So what Rich saying, everything needs to be offered
Right.
in a way to the
Well,
schools as well.
To the students.
To the students in school.
Right.
So, you know, do you have the same thing in both schools, or do you maintain identity? These are some of the issues we're struggling with.
So one of the things of that is if we just are gonna make sure that whatever's offered in one school is offered in the other
Right.
school, then really the budgets are gonna go way up,
Right.
and there's really.
Well, the other way around that is so to allow.
Why are we maintaining?
The other way is around that to
It's
allow.
identical.
Right.
If you allow transportation between the schools, then you are offering the opportunity to all the students as well. So that's it, that's also.
And there's nothing that says that the budgets won't increase
Right,
either, we don't
right.
know that. But one of the things, with the big thing with transportation, if you can't allow movement between the buildings, then you're really not offering opportunity.
Right.
Because, you know, the parents that have means and have
Can get there.
can do that. But then, you know, those usually aren't the students you're having issues, you wanna
Sure.
try to address. And, you know, so, and is it fair that this student can't participate because their parents can't drive them there?
Right.
Because they're both working, you know? So that's kind of that global
Mm-hmm.
picture that's difficult.
I don't know if this is in that same subject, but it came up earlier. It made me think of, my sister is a 4th grade teacher down in the suburbs of Philadelphia. And so she's part of a 5-school district, I guess, but they do, and I didn't know if this came across the table, if it was something I talked about, like all the 1st grade teachers have like a team meeting and talk about like what their curriculum looks like. So she does her own classroom curriculum, but they meet, like all the 4th grade teachers meet and talk about sort of how they're incorporating math in their classroom so that it has like some similar flow, but she has the freedom to sort of do it the way that she does it. Is that kind of what we're
The
thinking?
supervisory union provides that anyway right now.
Okay.
And Tammy and Matt, I'm sure, can speak to that.
Okay.
You know, those opportunities are provided for the classroom
But
teachers.
that was one of the things that
Supervisory
came up in the discussions is, you know, now there's one 1st grade in Dover and one in Wardsboro, or for, you know, and if a child's not gelling with a staff member in 1st grade, you know, could they come over to the other building? Maybe they would do better with that.
Sure.
That teacher, and that was some of the discussions we had. We had discussions about, you know, not, I mean, there was things thrown out from like, have the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd in both buildings and then combine them somewhere for 4th, 5th, and 6th.
Right.
One of the things that the West River group had talked about before, not this last go-around, was taking the 3 elementary schools in Townsend, Jamaica, and,
Newbrook?
no, was it Townsend, Jamaica?
Wyndham?
Maybe it was Wyndham, maybe, and build one school down by like the Valentine ball field.
Oh, yeah.
And then, you know, be able to bring all the students in, there would be more opportunity and more room. So, I mean, I think one of the things, the reason I ran for this new board, I thought would be really cool, is we're gonna get to think outside the box and do something really neat, not be confined to, well, we've always done it this way, so that's how we gotta do it. So that's kind of where you know, on the one end, you blow it all up and start over, but
Right.
we're not gonna blow it all up and start over,
Right.
because there's a lot of good things that are happening, but how do we bring that all together?
Sure.
And just one thing, the other thing, just I think everybody needs to understand is, we're not, the board gets the final say, but we're not the educational professionals. So we need to come up with this vision, these ideas, we give them the mission statement, the vision, we give them some policies, and then the administration needs to build the school around that. So one of the things that I think will come up is that we're gonna want some type of foreign language. And we even talked about, you know, somebody said, well, we gotta put down in the articles that you have to have Spanish. Well, we didn't think that was appropriate because, maybe we're all gonna speak one language in another 10 years.
Sure.
So make it just that, we want good educational opportunities, and then let the administration say, okay, right now, we should have a foreign language, and, we should have computer skills, and, we had in Dover one time, a parent came in and was very upset because their child didn't talk to them, come home and tell them about using the computer, and we said, did your child come home and tell you he used a pencil today? And they said, well, no, everybody uses a pencil. Well, that's what we're trying to get computers to be, the thing that, that it's not a special thing that you got to use a computer today, it's like run of the mill. So that's kind of where we're going with that broad overstroke.
I think one of the critical factors in the re-identification of everything is not an extreme, but to the extent that the administrators, the board, the faculty, and the kids in the classrooms can self-identify as one student body. So you would have the River Valley School in Wardsboro and the River Valley School in Dover, whether you want to call them A and B or 1 and 2 or W and D or whatever. But I think there's going to have to come a moment, whether it's a big naming ceremony and everybody gets a pin that says RVUSD or something. But I think a critical factor in this is going to be when everybody across the board at all levels begins to self-identify. And unless that happens, it's always going to be the mindset that you describe of, oh, well, this is the Dover Elementary School, this is the Wardsboro Elementary School.
Right.
So somehow we have to evolve or push or nudge or whatever it takes towards the self-identification. It's like a library that has more than one branch.
Right.
The Boston Public Library has like a zillion branches, but they're all the Boston Public Library.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I thought about even like the Wardsboro campus and the Dover campus.
Right.
Like somehow keep the name in there, but also don't lower the Wardsboro
Right, because
Elementary
it's
School.
gonna be like
Something
the,
like that.
whatever school district at Wardsboro or at Dover.
Right, but it's gonna require self-identification
Right,
for people to, adopt that as their identity.
right.
One of the conversations we had, I don't know if anybody had any children at Wilmington or Whitingham, but they became Twin Valley.
Right.
And one of the things is, there was a lot of discussion about, did you have a child there? You're shaking your head.
Well, I was there.
Oh, okay, so why don't you talk a little about it, do you mind?
Well, I can't remember how Twin Valley came up. I don't believe that was part of the kid discussion or the teacher discussion. I think that was much more of a board piece. But the biggest thing for our Twin Valley students was coming up with a mascot. And that was huge. And that really brought them all together between the mascot and determining colors. Those two things were enormous.
So you don't recall though any of the discussion about,
Like, I don't know how it became Twin Valley, honestly. I don't remember that piece. Mostly because I don't think that the kids were as involved. But when they were talking about colors and mascot, I mean, that was something we started doing in advisory and threw out all kinds of names.
And did you go to any, because
was-
you're a Dover resident, but you work down there, so did you go to any of those meetings that were you part of any of that when it was merging?
I wasn't because I was so pregnant. I wasn't making it at that point. But I just remember that first year when you brought those kids together, I mean, nobody talked about these were Wilmington and these were Whitingham kids. And I was a 9th grade teacher. They were new to me anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So my class, I had no idea. I didn't know where I was putting kids, who
Sure.
was mixing. But for them, I think it was the biggest piece was the colors and the mascot.
There was a lot of talk in the community. As a hairdresser in the community, I did hear a lot of talk about, from parents and kids, like there was a lot about identity and, and I still have a coworker who talks about, back when it was Wilmington and,
How much better it was.
that town pride. And so that's interesting. And not having any of that be really my community. It was interesting hearing all of that. And I personally, as a community member, hadn't thought about the name of the school changing it. I mean, it'll be fine, but I hadn't thought about that piece. And I was like, ooh, I guess I need to think about that. Like.
And I can't remember it all because my kids were in high school at the time.
Yeah,
In
I
Wilmington.
got Amy and Jim.
Yeah, and they, but one of the things was well, we were always warriors, and it was funny because like the basketball coach was from Wilmington, and a lot of the Whitingham parents felt like he was favoring the Wilmington
Right.
kids, and then baseball though was Robin, and Robin was from Whitingham, and he
Right.
was favoring all the Whitingham. And there's that kind of stuff that you have to work around, and there was talk about like the banners, because there was all
Yeah,
the 1,000
the
point,
gyms,
and
yeah.
luckily I've always swear, Emily and I long will talk, and I'll say I am so glad we don't have a high school to run because the problems they have and to oversee, elementary schools are really easy compared to a high school. So
Sure.
I don't, we've got younger kids and they're not so set in their ways, and it may even just be worse with parents but it's in community members. But I think that's one of the things we need to kind of figure out how that's going to work. And then the other thing is to make sure that we're offering, we're moving the good programs around. And, there was a lot of discussion in Dover. People are concerned about, well, can the superintendent just move all the people around? Can he take all the staff out of the Dover building and put them in Wardsboro? And yeah, he can, That's one of the things that we did give up a little bit here. Staff is a little bit more mobile now because it's not a person that works for Wardsboro and getting a check from the Wardsboro School District. No matter whether you work in the Dover building or the Wardsboro building, your check's going to come from the River Valley Unified School District. Everybody's stunned silence.
Yeah.
I know.
Contemplating.
But that might just be an interesting way for you to think about how the kids are going to self-identify is what is it that they could come together on and talk about. Maybe it's the 4th, 5th, and 6th graders or, something
Right.
where they're going to have a say in something.
And didn't Matt and did you guys have done a few things with the two?
We've done a field trip,
Yeah.
and then we
Yeah.
did the meeting at the beginning of
governor.
the school year with the governor. But maybe like pen pals or something.
Yeah, we could do more.
And the other thing we wanted to be really careful of too is for the next year and a half, they both still have individual buildings to run.
Right.
And we don't want to overburden, so the idea is once we get by town meeting day, then the superintendent's pretty well set with the individual schools. And then he's got to start working with the 5 Leland and Gray towns, 4 Leland and Gray towns, and with us. Marlboro is pretty much just going to stay the same. They have some work they have to do, not as much. And Stratton and Wyndham are still up in the air. I don't know. We don't know what's happening with them yet. So hopefully there'll be some more time for the superintendent to work with this so that we're not overburdening Matt. And geez, I'm Crow. I always draw a blank in your name. Tammy, I'm sorry. Big letters. So, any other thoughts on that topic that anybody wants to throw out?
So this
When's
is
that gonna be decided?
It's sometime in the next 3 months, because we have to give guidance to the superintendent on where we want him to kind of head. And then he's gonna, and part of that is then he starts to report back to us, so this is kind of what I'm thinking. I worked with Matt and Tammy, and this is where we're thinking of doing with this, and this is what we're thinking of doing with that. And then there'll be a bunch of meetings, and then they'll kindly, hopefully, put together a plan for us to move forward. Again, I think Rick or Dwight was starting to mention earlier, like, the way you have opportunity available doesn't mean that just because you have we'll use Spanish. We had Spanish in Dover. There was no foreign language in Wardsboro. That was one of the things that came out in the report. So does that mean if we just put a Spanish teacher in Wardsboro, that's gonna be more money, so the budget increases? Or are we able to use the Spanish teacher because they don't work for Dover anymore, they work for the River Valley? And do they work back and forth? Or do kids that want to take Spanish come from the Wardsboro Element building and go to the Dover building? And then when the bus gets there, does it take Dover students that want to work with something that Tammy's staff is doing different here, that maybe more what they want to do, and they come back? And then, do we have a bus that goes back and forth 3 times or 4 times a day or a couple times a week? Or
That sounds way more expensive than the teacher moving.
yeah, well, but, and again, Pardon?
And lost educational time, like kids
Yeah,
like.
I mean, I don't, you know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
we don't know though. I
Maybe they
mean,
learn Spanish on the bus,
right.
That's true.
and then Chinese on the way back.
In India, they have learning on the bus, you know?
Yeah, why not?
So, I mean, we don't know. That's why we're saying is let's not think ourselves in a box and just say,
Sure.
you know, that sounds more expensive, but maybe there's a good way to do it. Or maybe, you know, all the schools, the one thing is, you know, the state did spend a lot of money and all the schools are linked by fiber optic, you know, which is, I guess, the internets are fine in the buildings, right?
Great.
I mean, because there's even been talk about, you know, working some with the high school and, you know, allowing some students in the upper grades to, you know, get exposure to some junior high classes for like some advanced placement stuff. And that's, you know, it's only getting better. So,
That's cool.
So is that how you see the vision statement, more of a kind of a directive, you know, for?
the vision reps is a broad statement, you know, we want better opportunities for the students.
Yeah.
I think one of the stumbling blocks is gonna be the, you know, IB program, because that's a specific thing that you have to apply for and be approved by. It's not the state that approves it, it's this IB group. There is some cost to that, you know, that was a very strong thing in Dover, that the Dover parents didn't wanna lose. But again, you know, we could only recommend, we told them that we can't do anything specific, because you don't wanna be so specific in your articles that you lock a group into, that forever they have to do this. Remember, in 20 years, there may not be school buildings anyways. I mean, maybe everybody just, you know, gets their information sent home on their computer and they have to, you know, get it done, or, you know, they get a shock or something. Some futuristic thing.
Sounds about right.
Any other, pardon?
I was gonna say, are there any other questions on that?
Yeah,
I mean, I don't think we're not gonna solve that problem tonight.
Oh, no,
We know
I
we're
know.
gonna be somewhere in the middle.
Right.
But we wanna have that discussion.
Mhm.
So, then, why don't we, I don't think anybody's gonna mind going home early tonight. Do we have is there anything else anybody wants to bring up or needs to discuss?
What about ages for pre-K?
That'll have to be decided with recommendation from the administration to the group and to
Okay.
the board. Because right now Dover does a partial 3-year-old and a full half-day 4-year-old. And we just decided today we're gonna do a special article for a full-day 4-year-old program. Because one of the things that happened that was really not great for elementary schools that offer it is that, you know, the legislature decided that preschool money should go with the student. Even if you offer a preschool program, you can take your preschool money from the town and go to a private provider. So
And we're
we need.
almost there.
I know.
Pardon?
Is that right?
Mount,
Like
we were
Mount
just
Snow.
saying, like, Mount Snow is
Trying.
this close,
Working
we're,
to their
we're
accreditation.
almost there, our teacher is a whisker away. And so we would be one of those programs where parents could apply, like, they would get their, whatever it is, 10 hours of,
What is it?
well, for
No, but how much
3-year-olds,
money?
it's
It's a
10
dollar
hours.
amount.
It's 10 hours, 3 and 4.
$3,100.
Yeah.
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 And, you know, one of the things is Bill Antone, before he left as principal in Dover and then as superintendent, and I can say it here because I won't get hit, but, you know, one of the things he recommended was having a very robust preschool program, because you are gonna be competing with private entities. And, you know, I think, one of the things in Dover 15, 18 years ago when Act 60 first came out, we talked to the voters in Dover to spending a lot of money to start a preschool program. And we've seen a huge increase in test scores since then, and a huge decrease in special education expenses in our building. So I am a big believer that, you know, preschool, if you get the child in the school building where the guidance counselor, the kindergarten teacher, all the different specialists that are in the buildings, plus other teachers, you know, if you say, hey, there's a, you know, this child seems to be having a little issue with this, they throw a lot of resources at that child because they're all in the building, it's not an extra. And, you know, we've had almost all our kindergarten kids reading at a first grade level by the time they're done in kindergarten. And we found it made it a lot easier as they progress, because if you can't read, you know, that just kind of creates a whole bunch of more issues as you go down your educational system. So, you know, anything we can do, just for me, but, you know, there's 5 other members on the board, and we have to make a decision as a group, so.
And I'm not sure if now's the appropriate time to comment on it, but our oldest daughter who's a pre-K here. She's 4. She's a July birthday. Went to Dover for the 3-year-old half day, and it was the best thing that she could have possibly done because she gets here to this school and already knows the deal, already has that structure underneath her belt and everything like that, and the introduction to a new school while it's a new location and a lot of different kids and everything like that. Having that year at Dover as a 3-year-old was invaluable, and it comes with its growing pain. She's 3.
She went to, I'm gonna get on my soapbox for a minute, because she went to daycare too, and my kids they just did Mount Snow and started preschool here, ready to go, and so I think, I'm a big advocate of early education, it's what I do, and those kids do go into school, whether it's at 3 or 4, and then my other thing is play-based learning, so I feel like don't put them in structure too early, let them play. They'll read better.
We also, so just at our last Dover board meeting, we had that discussion with Matt about maybe doing some more play kind of date things at the school so that different staff members can do some observations and say, hey, we noticed this and maybe we can help. Because, intervention at the younger ages has a lot more effect than intervention. We had a board member who became an educator. I remember her at one of my first board meetings saying, we do all students a disservice by giving them a one-on-one aid and keeping them from, grade 1 through 12. We need to give them that one-on-one person in kindergarten and 1 so that they're gone by 2nd and 3rd grade. And
so they can interact.
Yeah.
What is the cutoff date for pre-K?
Pardon?
What is the cutoff date?
Well, and that's something we
That's
get to
something we
decide.
have to discuss too. Our cutoff dates are probably different.
I
Ours
thought
is
it was a state.
September
I thought
1st.
it- I thought
The
September
state
1st
says
was
you have to
state
do
one.
August 1st to January 1st.
Oh.
Yeah.
They give you
Somewhere in
They
there. Oh,
give
I
you
thought
a
it was
range.
September 1st
Yeah.
across the
It's
state.
September 1st here too.
Right, so I think Wyndham Central had it September 1st a long time ago when Tom Lewis was superintendent, when I first got on the board, because we always had that argument with somebody, one of my first school board meetings was, my daughter was born at, 2 a.m. on September 1st, and, that they didn't make the cutoff date, and she's really smart and a great kid, and it's so hard how do you decide who you say yes and no to,
Sure.
because it becomes a slippery slope.
It is. You have 2 people here with early September boys, and Jackson's birthday is September 3rd, and everybody's like, oh, is that so? And I'm like, I'm good, because I'm September 15th, and I struggled all through school, and it was terrible. So I was like, sweet, we missed September 1st. I don't get a choice. He's going to be oldest in the class. It's perfect. And by 2nd or 3rd grade, like, he was ahead, and then he leveled out, and he's right on. And, then I was just talking with Christine, and she's got a son who just bumped a grade in middle school, because that's what, and so, again, that's my other little soapbox that, don't stop rushing.
But, that's a policy we have to come up with. That's one of the ones we haven't adopted yet, because we want some recommendations
There you
from administration. There's also a really cool video that got us on IB. I think the guy's name is Dr. Kenneth Robertson. And it's kind of this art thing that they draw on a board and stuff, and it's really kind of cool, but he talks about the education system is based on something way back, when we were Henry Ford was first starting the factory system, and that's why we put everybody in the egg group, and you're all this age group, and now you can go here.
Yeah.
You can't go anywhere back and forth until you move. And that if we were to get away from that and allow students to just, why do we say you have to go to high school for 6 years? What if you could do it in 4 years?
Right.
My last year at Leland Gray, I had 2 classes,
Right.
I went to school, I got to school at 11, and I left at like 12:30, 12:45.
Right.
So, it was,
Proficiency-based learning, that's
Proficiency,
where we're going.
well, and individual learning plans, not everybody's gonna be a rocket scientist, I hate to say it.
It's true, though.
And I gotta tell you, I sat through Ted Redfield's, geometry class, and I was so bored to death. And now every time we do carpentry and I'm trying to figure out angles and stuff, I so wish I had paid attention. But I was really into the fire department, and Mrs. Twitchell was teaching us algebra, and that's all friction loss on the pumps is all algebra, and I aced that class because it related to something I wanted to do, and I'm sure everybody's got the same stories, So please come again, because it's gonna get better, I promise.
This was good
So
though.
the next one is what?
So the next meeting will be the 16th. It is Martin Luther Day, but we just.
The 15th is Martin Luther.
Oh, well, that's our
16th
meeting
is
then.
my birthday.
Okay, so it's the 15th we're meeting.
The 15th, not the
January.
16th?
January 15th, Monday night.
Okay, do I have a 16th?
You might have said
On this
16.
one, it says at the regular board meetings on January 2nd, 16th.
No, it should be, I
No,
must
it
have
should
Oh,
be
just,
that's the
15th.
regular.
you know what it is, I added 14 days to the second.
What am I?
yeah.
No, it's the
So no, it's
15th.
the
Right,
Monday.
it's that Monday, because we lose a board member, has to be in Montpelier Tuesday through Friday. So we want to try to meet on Mondays.
And those are at the Dover School?
The next one will be, remember, the first meeting of the month, first Monday's in Wardsboro.
First Monday, Wardsboro.
And then the second, remember, it's always odd as in Wardsboro, odd years and odd days.
Where was odd and Wardsboro?
Because you guys picked it first. You got first pick.
Oh, all right.
Yes.
I just want to do a public service announcement for anybody watching on BCTV. You always can participate in these meetings by emailing a question. The email address is wcsu.media@wyndhamcentral.org. You can go to the blog, which is rivervalleyschooldistrict.blogspot.com. It's links there to ask a question, or you can come to the meetings. So maybe we can put that as a little tape on the bottom of the screen.
Thank you.
And we accept all donations, large and small.
Right.
Make the check payable to Rich. Anything else from anybody? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Oh, last thing,
Building stuff? What?
the reserve study.
No, nothing to report.
Okay. We really, you think by next meeting we should put that on the agenda?
Yes, but next meeting.
Okay, perfect.
What's the name of that?
The reserve study.
Reserve study.
Both Dover and Wardsboro boards have approved
They've
spending
approved.
up to $5,000 on a reserve
You
study
can
for each
review the
building.
buildings before.
Oh, that's the engineering study, yeah.
Engineering study. Good. Motion adjourned?
Yep. Second? Motion by Dwight, second by Barry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Thank you,
Okay, we're
everyone.
adjourned. Thank you.
Okay, loud man.